samasta jana kalyane niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam sadgurum brahma vidvaram vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chanura mardhanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva tvameva sarvam amadeva deva tvameva sarvam gurudeva deva. Hari Om. We are continuing the analysis of Maya, and Maya expresses as the total vasanas together as an expression of Maya from the point of Ishvara. From the point of Jiva, it is the individual vasanas which are cause for his body and his environment, and therefore it is a karana. Karana means cause for his own creation and so on, whereas the other one is cause for the total creation. So these two things have to be, that is the micro level and the macro level has to be understood in the process. Because when a realization or self-realization occurs, what do I realize? I realize that I am Brahman. So from the I am Brahman, what gets eliminated in the process also have to be understood. So it is the local mind that has a problem of ignorance, and it is the local mind that realizes that I am only a local mind, but the conscious that is enlivening in this mind is nothing but the absolute consciousness, and I am that consciousness has to be recognized by the Jiva. Jiva identifying himself with the local, we call it a conditioned consciousness or reflected consciousness, while still being in the reflected consciousness has to, or Chidabhasa, recognize that the consciousness that is being enlivened by the mind comes from the total consciousness that is all pervading. That is the realization. Aham Brahmasmi is the knowledge to be gained by the local mind. That mind is not Brahman, but the consciousness that enlivening the mind, because I say I am not the mind, I am a conscious entity. Even though I claim I am the mind, but what I am is, I am conscious entity, because the mind is also object of my knowledge. I know what things goes in my mind. I know what are the thoughts. I can even change my mind. When I say I change my mind, I am not going to do this. That means mind, that is an instrument, that I can change it when I want. That means I am something different, my mind. So I am conscious of something else, even though with the identification with the body I am claiming I am in the body. Same identification using the mind, I had to identify myself or shift my attention that I am actually pure existent consciousness enlivening in this upadhi. Therefore it is a upahita chaitanyam, enclosed like a pot enclosed, the pot space thing that I am only pot space, but a teaching to that pot space is you are the total space, and the space is undivided, and even the pot walls are in you, not you are inside the pot wall. The teaching is to the pot space, and the pot space, while still remaining in the pot, recognizes that I am the total space. It is my glory all over, even though I am appearing to be inside. Just as a ring recognizes I am gold actually in the form of a ring here for some purpose or for some transactions. So remaining in the form of a ring, I can recognize that I am the gold, I am the same one in the bank, I am the same one in the necklace, I am the same one in all ornaments. That is the knowledge that has to be gained by the ring. Therefore, the avidya that is at the level of the individual mind has to get educated, and that is what the jnanam is. It is a jnanam to the individual mind, and therefore the ignorance at the individual level goes away, and that mind thinks I am Brahman, realizes. So all this to be understood. So one realizes what happened to other people. So that also has to be known. So it is the local mind that has to recognize that I am not the mind, And even to say that I am not the mind, I need the mind. Because the mind is upadi, an instrument for transactional purposes. I can use the mind and still claim that I am not the mind. And that's what is essentially knowledge. So this process of knowing or knowledge, what happens? What happens is the Jiva Srushti is gone, because Jiva Srushti is coming from the individual vasanas which form the basis of karana or cause for the creation, and that's because of Mula Avidya. So Avidya is gone, or ignorance is gone. Therefore, whatever is only products that are already brought in, that is essentially prarabdha karma, that's because of which the particular body, mind and intellect are there. So as long as the prarabdha karma is there and intellect gets exhausted, the BMI will continue, but there is no more cause for the next birth, because there is no more vasanas left. So all the total account of sanchita karma is gone. Agami karma will not come, because I have recognized that I am never a doer. Even in the past also it doesn't belong. It only belongs to this body, mind and intellect, which is product of the previous vasanas. So in the process, I eliminate Jiva Srushti. That means my own creation. And what is my own creation? And that's because of my own raga dveshas, or the likes and dislikes. What doesn't get eliminated is the Ishvara Srushti. So Ishvara Srushti will remain as it is, because local mind did not create the whole universe, and therefore Jnani will still perceive the world as long as the perceiving instruments, the body, mind, intellect are there. So as long as BMI, body, mind, intellect are there, the world of plurality can be seen, but he doesn't have the moha, delusion, that the world of plurality that he sees is real. Because what is real is that which is can never undergo any change, trikala abhaditam, that which never undergoes a change, and that is Brahman, and he understands that he is Brahman, not now, but he is been Brahman even before, when he did not know that he is Brahman. That means he was all the time only Brahman. He mistook himself that he is local guy, and all the problems came because of the misunderstanding or misapprehension caused all the problem. So Jnanam will eliminate, because at its individual level, it eliminates the individual creative aspect of it, which are due to raga dveshas. If the raga dveshas are gone, then there is no more projecting on top of Ishvara Srushti my own creation aspects. We'll discuss that a little bit. That's what Viveka Chudamani talks about, the individual creation. But also we should understand the knowledge will not eliminate the total creation, which is Ishvara Srushti. Therefore, Ishvara Srushti will go on. Perception through the BMI is go on, because even BMI product, BMI is body, mind, intellect, or product of prarabdha, and that is given by the Ishvara. Therefore, it is essentially Ishvara Srushti. So all transactions will go on as before. So from the Ajnani point, he will never know who is Mahatma and who is not Mahatma, because he is also transacting with the BMI, and other person also transacting with the BMI. So in that sense, there is no difference. What is there gone is only the Jiva Srushti. His raga dveshas are gone. So if there still is a little bit of raga dveshas even after knowing, and we will go into later, that's where nididhyasana comes into picture. This aspect will be discussed later, but what happens in the self-realization is an elimination of Jiva Srushti, and it will not come back once the knowledge takes place. Just as when I see the individual projection, which we call it a pratibhasika, is gone. That means when I see a rope as a rope, there is no more projection of a snake, because the projection of a snake is by the individual mind, not by the total mind. The total mind projection or the objective creations like the mirage waters or the sunrise and sunset is not my creation. But sun never rises or sun doesn't rise or set is what Shastra says. Shastra means science says that sun doesn't rise or set, it is only at moment. But knowing very well that sun doesn't rise, I can still enjoy the sunrise and sunset, I can still experience sunrise and sunset because it is Ishvara Srushti. Therefore, one should understand, once an Advaitin realizes there should not be any creation, there should not be any teaching, because there is no world to teach. All that is because of lack of understanding the Ishvara Srushti versus the Jiva Srushti. And Jiva Srushti is emphasized because of samsara comes because of Jiva Srushti, and that's what is being emphasized as a part of the Trigunam. So from the point of individual, the Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna are being discussed here in this Viveka Chudamani. We'll take Sloka 114 and says, this Rajoguna is essentially contributing for samsara. Rajoguna is projecting power. I am putting something on top of it, creating a mess essentially. Ishvara Srushti is as it is, but on top of it, my likes and dislikes is there. So I like that. Ishvara Srushti is whatever is there, and then I project my likes and dislikes on top of it. You project your own dislikes and likes and dislikes. So each one is same object. People look at differently, even though same object is creation, and that is nothing to do with the Lord. He says, I have created a beautiful girl. Oh, somebody say, I hate it. Somebody say, I love it. All these love, hates and all that coming from individual vasanas. And that's what is essentially has to be the negative aspect of it is being emphasized here, because that's the one that contributes to the samsara. In the Rajoguna, where the projecting power comes into picture, in the Sloka 114, in the Viveka Chudamani, those who have text can look at it. It says this is Kama Krodho Lobha Damba Bhyasuya Ahankaresya Matsarajyastu Ghoraha Dharma ete Rajasa Pum Pravuttihi Asmadetat Rajo Bandha Hetuhu. So slowly the Acharya is taking what is bondage also in the process. What is the bondage? This is the Jiva Srushti is causing a bondage. How does the Jiva Srushti comes here? Here he is giving you steps here. These are several things as part of the Rajoguna, and the Rajoguna, depending on the qualities of the mind, has acquired these attributes or the qualities. Essentially, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Dambha, Abhyasuya, Ahankara, Irshya, Matsyadi, Astu Ghoraha, Dharma ete Rajasaha. These are all Dharma Rajasaha Pravrittihi. Asmad etat tad Rajo Bandhahetuhu. So essentially, Kama is the desire. And when the desire is not fulfilled, you get, or something comes obstructing me and my desired object, then I get angry. Therefore, Krodha comes. And in the Gita also, Kama yesha Krodha yesha Rajoguna samudbhavaha Mahashino Mahapapma Vidyedamiha Vairinam. This is the Vairinam. This is the enemy. What's the enemy? All other things are not enemy. No other enemy. This is the enemy. What is that? Kama, Krodha, and here the modifications of the Kama, Krodha into other the qualities also been explained here. Kama, Krodha is anger. In the second chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, Jhayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangas Sanjayate Kamaha. How does Kama come? By keep on thinking about. So if I start thinking about the same object again and again, object or a person, again and again and again, like a video keep going on, then I get the desire to possess or desire to avoid it. So all that is part of keep thinking my association. So deliberate thinking about it contributes to the vasanas, and that starts with the Kama. So Kama and can lead to Krodha, and krodhat bhavai sammoha, sammoha smriti vibhava, smriti bhramsa, buddhinasha pranasyati. So kama, krodha means I lose the discriminative power, what is right, what is wrong in the anger. In the anger I do all sorts of things, then I repent later, and that's because of the krodha, the blockage of the intellect occurs. In the anger, I lose the discriminative power. That means the intellectual power is gone, which is, intellect is what it discriminates what is right and what is wrong. And my actions will be dictated by the anger motivated the mind, and therefore I perform an action in that rage, but later, once the intellect comes back, I repent it also. So kama, krodha, lobha essentially is trying to possess whatever I have, and that is, and greediness essentially. Dambam is essentially having, over displaying my own possessions as a proud, that is essentially dambam. And asuya is essentially the jealousy, but there is anasuya. Anasuya is the Atri's wife, she doesn't have any asuya. So that's what essentially anasuya means. Asuya means the jealousy about having other people having a possessions that I do not have. Ahankara is the ego. So we analyze the two ahankara. This ahankara is trying to show off what, even though I have it or I don't have it, I try to show off how great I am, and that is essentially ahankara. Isha is also a jealousy, is essentially for others' possessions and so on. So the Matsaram is a vindictive nature. Matsara just Goraha says Dharma ete Rajasaha Pampravuttihi. These are the dharmas of Rajoguna, and that's one that will propel me from continuous samsara itself. I suffer the consequence of this, and then punarapi maranam, punarapi I make birth and so on, samsara comes into picture. And asmat etat tat rajo, and it becomes a bandhahetuhu, it becomes a cause for my bondage itself. So what is the cause for bondage? All these negative tendencies in the human, and when I perform the action with those, so kamya karma, desire prompted actions, and it will bind me because I want to enjoy, because I want to become happy, and then not only I may enjoy a little bit, but it will become a bandham, because now I depend on it for my happiness, and that becomes again just like dependence on coffee for my happiness. Then coffee will bind me, then unless I have coffee I become restless and I cannot be unhappy. So all this propelled by the individual desires, and these are all part of the Rajoguna. So we have Tamoguna and the Rajoguna and the Sattvaguna. Here Acharya is defining what exactly Rajoguna, and this is the cause for bondage. But what is bondage? All this came because original tamas is there, that is causing for all this. So Tamoguna means covering avarana, because I do not know who I am. Therefore I am taking local guy as the local BMI as I am, and therefore all other things come into picture. So this Tamoguna becomes a fundamental problem for covering of my true nature. So what is the nature of Tamoguna is also explained in terms of details. It has essentially involves in manifest in terms of abhavana and viparita bhavana and vipratipatti. So essentially abhavana is absence of right judgment is abhavana, because I don't know what is right and what is wrong, and I make a mistake in terms of, and even if I know right, I am propelled by kama, krodha, lobha, and I enter into the wrong decisions also. That because of tamoguna. So abhavana. Viparita bhavana is extreme notions about taking the innate things as I am. That is the extremity. See, when I say I am this, that means this is an object and I am a subject, and when I identify myself, I am this, that is a viparita bhavana. And the Sambhavana is samshayam. Samshayam means a doubt, and because I don't know, even when Vedanta says you are not the body, it's difficult to get rid of the identification that I am the body, because there is a problem. Is it really that? Say Sambhavana means doubt about the pramana, doubt about the prameyam. Pramana means whether the validity of the scripture is says, because what the scripture is telling completely opposite of what my experience is, and whatever experience is not real, it says, and what I don't experience is real, completely ulta sida. Therefore there is a question, is it really true? Is it just a belief, or somebody else said like this, therefore I have to believe, because I don't understand clearly what exactly. This doubt comes because of the pramana is doubtful, the validity of the means of knowledge, in this case Vedanta pramana, is itself doubtful. Even when Vedanta pramana with the teachers, still I have doubtful about prameya, about the object. I am a Brahman. Says, how can I be Brahman? I am local entity, but Brahman means infinite. I am being a finite here, and finite claiming that I am infinite is like somebody in the judge, oh I am free with all the shackles there. So it is only a brainwashing, or is it really real? All this comes into picture because of not believing or not having a complete faith in the pramana and in the prameyam also. And this can only go by, all this ignorance can only go by proper preparation of the mind. So for that I had to go towards the Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna is where knowledge becomes important. So how do I get Sattva Guna? And that's why the scriptures gives exhaustively in terms of the analysis of how to purify the mind from Tamoguna and Rajoguna. And the purification process will help in getting the Sattva Guna. It doesn't help in realization, but realization, Sattva Guna is required, and this process, sadhana, is required in order to purify the mind from this tamasic and rajasic. We quoted in terms of the 13th chapter, this is the 24 values that Krishna teaches: amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shanti, rajyavam, acharya upasanam, saucham, stairyam, atma vinigraha, indriyarteshu, vairagyam, anahankaram evacha, janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanudarsanam, and so on and so forth. Therefore there are 24 values, and there is recognize the presence of Ishvara, and therefore Karma Yoga also comes into picture. In the 16th that we discussed already in before in terms of how to purify the mind. In the 16th chapter again Krishna talks about, in the very starting of the slokas itself, in the 16th chapter, he talks about Daivi Sampatti. Dhampis is Abhayam Sattva Samsuddhihi Jnana Yogya Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyasya Swadhyaya Tava Arjavam. So essentially, then Ahimsa Satyam Akrodham Chagashantirupaishunam Daya Bhuteshu Alolupyam Mardavam Hira Chapalam Alolupvam Mardavam Hira Chapalam. So essentially he are listing many of these. Abhayam. Bhayam means without having a fear. Fear comes from the second. Ditiyadvav bhayam bhavati. So whenever there is a second, you are already afraid of something other than yourself. Because in the deep sleep state, you are all by yourself. There is no fear at all. So fear comes from this second. That's why the Advaita is always causing a problem. And the scripture says, Udara mantaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati. Even a speck of difference, that's from the Taittiriya Upanishad. So Udara mantaram kurute, even a speck of difference will cause a fear. And therefore abhayam means trying to understand that I am the only one in the whole universe. There is nothing to be afraid of. Or another way is, bring Ishvara is there. When the Lord is with me, why am I afraid? He is the whole universe. He is the Lord of Ishvara of the whole universe. He is with me. Then how can I be afraid of? And also recognize the Lord is everywhere. He is the most compassionate, and whatever it is done only for my evolution, if I understand it, there is no bhayam also. So abhayam, and sattva samsuddhi. So purification and developing the sattva buddhi, that comes from jnana yogya vyavastitaha, by abiding myself in the knowledge that sattvic guna will grow. That involves dhanam. Dhanam means giving away. So whatever I have, I think if I am a possessing, then the very possessing has to be given up itself. So Tadiyam vastu Govinda Tubhyameva Savapai. Oh Lord, this is only yours. I am giving it to you, and because I have a notion that this is mine, that is real dhanam. So whether it is a naivedyam in the puja room, or anything that I offer to the best degree that I am capable of, that becomes my dhanam. If I don't have any capacity, because I can only give locally, I see a lot of people suffering, what should I do? I don't have anything to give. If I say at least sit down and do prayer, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, do prayer itself. That itself is giving, because Lord has given you only that much, so give whatever that is given. So that is what is essentially, so the dhanam. And dhamma is told, sama dhamma is controlling senses, and yajnascha means by proper yajna. Yajna we discussed as there are panchabhuta yajnas are there, essentially deva yajna, and then pitru yajna, and the rushi yajna, and manava yajna, and the bhuta yajna. All these are meant for purification of the mind. Purification of the mind is nothing but going from a tamasic to rajasic to sattvic guna, and essentially developing a sattvic guna at the expense of rajoguna and tamoguna. And therefore these pancha yajnas, deva yajna is offering something to the Lord. That means recognize the presence of the Lord everywhere. So whatever I do, yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhoshi tadasyedu, yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, offer it to me. That becomes the real yajna. That is deva yajna, which is what? Yajnartham karma. So perform the action for the sake of Lord, or Ishvara Arpita Buddhi has to be there. That becomes a Deva Yajna. Pitru Yajna is, I come from the ancestors of my generation. I claim I belong to that family, but what have I done to justify that name of that family? So I had to follow the traditions and the culture and tradition that is passed on by my generations, and that's what essentially Pitru Yajna. Also in terms of the rituals, in terms of Shraddham, and also comes from the part of Pitru Yajna. And Rushi Yajna is, I belong to this Rushi Gotram. So every time when I go to temple, they'll ask you, what is your Gotram? And we mention something without knowing what exactly it means. We mention the name of a Rushi because I come from that Rushi tradition, and therefore that Rushi is what? These are Veda Drashtas. They are the ones who have essentially seen Vedas, to whom the Vedas are revealed, and they are the one who passed on. And if Rushi Yajna means recognizing and studying the Vedas, Vedantas is essentially part of Rushi Yajna. And Rushi also means Veda. And next is the Manava Yajna. Rushi Yajna also means Acharya Rodam also. My obligation to my teachers and teachers to teacher by passing on the knowledge to the next generation becomes also as a part of Rushi Yajna. And Manava Yajna, and helping whatever I can to all other human beings, and the Bhuta Yajna, helping all living beings to the degree that I can. Otherwise, at least sit and do prayer for everybody. All that helps in the purification of the mind to go towards the Sattva Guna. Next we will talk about the Sattva Guna and summarize this Anatma aspect before we go into the Atma aspect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Harihi Om.